Well, watching Prince perform live is definitely humbling.
Come on. 100%.
Moments that take my breath away. Sitting down on a couch with Stevie Wonder.
Come on.
Michael Jackson. Calling the studio.
You got to tell a story. You can't just
Well,
touch
he
it.
had a charitable song after the 50th anniversary concert in Madison Square Garden. And there were 2 nights of that. September 11th happened, and he composed a charity song that many of the same artists that were on that show came to New York to record. And on my birthday, 10/10, that year, I went into the studio to do this for Michael Jackson because that's what I was going to do.
Of course.
I was a big fan. He called the studio and sang me happy birthday.
Are you serious?
That day.
Wow.
Those are the moments that remind me whenever I'm maybe feeding into negativity or negative narratives about myself, that these icons that have seen so much, that have paved the way, that you got to shake hands with, that are no longer here with us, dig from whatever place that is within you that got you there when you're second guessing yourself. Remember who you are. Remember what got you there.
What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to another episode. I apologize for interrupting really quick. I just wanted to talk to you guys about how much work it's taking us to contribute this incredible content for you guys. For all you R&B lovers that really enjoy these conversations from legends and new artists and just R&B contributors across the board, we would greatly appreciate if you just hit subscribe, like, and share this content. God bless you. And here's the episode.
Can we talk? Oh, can we talk? Can we talk? R&B.
What's up? It's your boy Ian Vaughn, the R&B ambassador, the host of the Can We Talk R&B podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. And I have a very, very special treat for you guys. So I'm always saying I got one of them ones, but legit, we really have one. Like, this is a legendary artist. She has she's a Grammy Award winner. She's been around since 1998. This is my senior year in high school. 25 years. This year is her 25th year in the music industry. We can't do nothing but just be floored by your presence. Maya, thank you for joining the Can We Talk R&B podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming, making the time, for sure. So we just want to do what we always do, and that's just have a conversation about R&B. So can we talk R&B?
Of course. I've watched you, so it's great to be here in the flesh.
Awesome.
On the same couch.
Yeah, the legendary yellow couch. So we're in sunny California, and I'm just so happy because we've been chasing you down. Like, we've been, like, my producer, you're like, my producer's one of her favorite artists, period. Mm-hmm. And she has been like, we got to get Maya. This is like from the very beginning of the show. So we wrote a list of artists that we wanted to see and have an interview, have a conversation with, rather. And you were definitely on that list. So it's just kind of surreal to actually have you here. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what got you started? Like, you're from the D.C. area. What got you into R&B music?
My dad. I watched my dad perform with live musicians my entire life.
Nice.
Our living room was the rehearsal spot. Our garage was the rehearsal space.
Yeah.
Every day the neighbors would complain. I grew up in a musical family, you know, and it's something that actually moved me in a way that I could not articulate as a young girl. Sure. I felt it.
Sure.
The spirit of music. I watched my great-grandmother sing Alberta Davis in a Baptist church for years. She was a true alto. And she had a very, very deep range as well. So I think that got me started on the path of music. But I was also always exposed to music, whether it was through dance as well as orchestra. I was in the gospel choir in high school.
Nice.
My grandfather composed for orchestra, sheet music by hand. So it's on both sides, and it's just running through my veins.
Did you play any instruments?
Violin is something I've played from grade 5 to 12, and I've actually played on one of my independent projects.
Awesome.
But yeah.
I was just going to ask, like, have you, like, showcased that on
Not
on
in
the
a
music?
live show just yet.
You should.
I've gotten on the drums before.
Nice.
On a go-go beat. You know, I'm from the Chocolate
From
City.
DC,
But
yeah.
music is just something that I have to do as a part of my makeup, whether a recording artist or not.
So what got you into R&B though?
R&B, well, I would say my dad. You know, there were nothing but soul records that played in my living room on vinyl.
Yeah.
A lot of 70s funk, soul bands of the 70s as well. Peaches and Herb, O'Brien, Prince, Stevie Wonder, Donny Hathaway, Shalimar, you name it.
Yeah.
And so that was also a big part of my upbringing. And I think that's what I've always resonated with. It's also an extension of gospel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
Chord changes, that emotion and those feelings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I listened to, I guess, listening to your music throughout the years, you can hear all those influences in certain, whether it's a vocal arrangement or whether it's some sort of a run that you do or some sort of harmony arrangement or I guess some melody choices. And I can't really pin you down to specifically R&B. I mean, you're R&B, but you're pop, you also dancehall, you also have some reggae elements, you have a world music element. So, where are you pulling from to, I guess, to express yourself in those ways?
Well, people, life experience, yourself, your friends, conversation with girlfriends.
Sure.
Sometimes you're writing for a film, a scene in a particular TV show. So there's not one way until it's about making the album that you want to make for you. Sometimes that stems from therapy being needed. And then getting the bravery to share it in a public way, through the digital streaming platforms or having a concept. So I can't say that there's one way, but there is the foundation of R&B, which also comes from church.
Absolutely. Yeah. I talk about that a lot on the show. I'm a church boy. At least I grew up that way. And the pedigree in most of the guys that we've had on the show that I've had the kinship with, like, we're all musicians, we're all singers, and like the real root of being able to connect musically with someone, soul to soul in that way, comes from that gospel root. And I think obviously most, at least from my point of view, the most talented singers, the most talented musicians come from that. And then once you get an opportunity to get out into the world, and then you have these world experiences, you're able to still translate, musically to tell those stories. That's fantastic. So, this is the 25th anniversary, 2023, of your debut album. Like, when I think about that, first of all, I'm like, you're a very young woman, obviously, but if you think 25 years in the business, you have raised a generation of fans that really love your music. It's just
Not raised. Oh, my goodness.
When I say that,
we grew up together.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? I'm sure you have people walk up to you telling you how this song affected their lives in some way.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
It's a privilege.
For sure.
To do something that your spirit resonates with, whether it's in the business or outside of the business, to make a living and also impact people in a positive way and have them tap in to a part of themselves that may be uncomfortable at times or to affect or be a part of people's memories,
Sure.
Adolescence, coming of age, et cetera, and all of the experiences that are attached to that is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
And to hear about it now that we live in a new age of social media, which is not the age that I came from.
That's right.
I've watched technology evolve. I recorded to tape on my first album and had a cassette on my very first release, CD stores, and now we get to communicate directly with fans, test things before we release them, and have a personal connection, which I think is the most important. So I love it all. It still feels like I'm starting out every season of my life, and I can say that I'm even more excited about the next chapter. The 25 years has been an education, a blessing, but now I feel like I'm actually starting my real career. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. So from the very beginning, obviously you were on a major label. You had this big, you were one of the biggest stars in the world at that time. It was, I think about the late 90s. I think about the female artists that were just killing the game. It's you, it's Aaliyah, it's Brandy, it's Monica. you guys were the staples of young urban music and R&B, pop across the board. Just some of the biggest stars in the world. The way music is received now. Back then, like you said, tapes, CDs. You actually got a chance to sign something. Now it's digital release. It's a totally different feel and totally different experience. Can you talk about, the difference in your experience as an artist presenting that to your fans? Or
I still make sure all of my independent projects are physical.
Awesome.
I take them to all of my shows, the meet and greets, offer them online.
Good.
There's something about having physical product, also personalized, taking the time to do that stays with you forever.
For sure.
Digital can be taken down and controlled in a certain way that is very unpredictable, but it's the memorabilia that I love to keep as well. As a fan, I'm a fan of musicians and artists that are no longer here anymore, so to keep something of theirs that they touched, that they lived with, that they wore is very special to me.
Yeah.
So I make that available on my website, but at my shows. And yes, to see it all evolve, it has me thinking, what's next in the next 10 years?
There's a lot going on. I mean,
a lot.
That kind of that leads me to something that's not even one of my questions, but it just leads me to a question. Everyone's selling publishing, right? You see all these artists selling their publishing, and I'm like, something like, why? Whoever's buying it, like they must know something.
They know something. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They know something, and when you look at the big picture of that, I'm like, okay. You're saying selling physical copies. I come from that era. I've always been independent. And I remember when we would put records out, the band I was with or my solo projects, I was selling albums. They would be in certain stores. They would be out the trunk. Of course, we're doing shows and we're selling. And it's important to take home something physical, right? I felt a connection. I was able to write a note to this particular person. And now that everything is digital, I feel like there's a lapse there in terms of the connection from artist to fan. And that ultimately leaves a gap to where, I guess, with so much, now that everybody is an artist, right? So now that everybody can make music, just put an album out, pull out your computer, and just make an album. That the connection, the seriousness of that connection is not there the way it used to be. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's really important that you even saying what you're saying. I think I was at a Victoria Monet concert recently, and she had physical CDs there as well, and I thought that was impressive. She was that was the first artist that I
cars are not coming with CD players anymore.
They're not.
And you have to go seek for vinyl players as well.
That's right.
Record players.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, okay, so with that said, you've been, and this is for the audience who don't know, I understand when you're on a major label, the button is pressed. So when I say the button is pressed, I mean like they're spending all the money in marketing, so everyone knows new albums coming out. This is this rollout is happening. As an independent artist, you don't have the same visibility because of that. But I think the benefit for you and for artists like you who are legendary artists who had a huge career in the public eye is everyone knows your name. So even when you do, and your fans
catalog,
in your catalog, so your fans are looking for you, So can you talk about, I guess the difference in the experience of being on a major to independent?
Absolutely. And it varies for artists. So my circumstance and situation is much different than independent artists currently without the major backing ever.
Sure.
I definitely believe in the majors, depending on what it is that you want. Do you want the major push? Do you want to wait in line for a couple of years? It is also not guaranteed that button will ever get pushed.
Right.
So I think it's very important to have the independent mindset and make things go regardless of there is a financier, an investor, etc. You must be that always for yourself. And I think because we live in such a very saturated world, but then also market in the entertainment business and then especially the music business, there are thousands of albums and artists, millions if not, that are getting released every day.
Every day. Yeah.
And I think majors like to hop on the bandwagon, and so it's up to us to make sure that we are always a constant investment in ourselves.
Yeah.
And something may pop in a different way. Now there's social media, now there's TikTok. There are different ways to be discovered, and it can happen for anyone, regardless of the budget, regardless. People dictate more now,
For
and
sure.
so you're not going to get a deal, most likely, without a TikTok page.
That's a fact.
It is the driving force, and
That's a
I've
fact.
been in the rooms with those conversations.
Yeah.
If you are an artist seeking a deal, you better get your ass on TikTok, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And it works so much differently than when I was coming up. So my perspective may be a little skewed. I've been independent for a long time now,
Sure.
2007, but I have the advantage
Yeah.
of having a catalog or touring the world because of those hits. And that came from the majors and a different time in music
Sure.
and business where there were budgets before the
Right.
internet,
That's
before Napster.
That's right.
So I give praise where praise is due. They did that
Yeah.
at Interscope
Yeah.
and Universal, and I was also just a test dummy to see if R&B could survive on a rap and rock label in between Death Row and Marilyn Manson. Here's
Really?
this R&B chick.
Yeah.
What is this? We don't know it. We don't understand it, but let's give it a try.
And
So,
but you kicked the door and swinging though.
you know, but somebody had to believe.
Yeah.
And that's very scary when nothing there has been ever proven and you're still stepping and treading very lightly.
Can you talk about like that experience? So you know you're a test dummy, you're coming into the game, and you had this dream, and then you just kind of, you know,
You go with the flow.
yeah,
You know, I love what I do. I was a dance teacher prior to all of the music, and then I dreamt of being on Broadway. Excuse me. I dreamt of being on Broadway for years. That was going to be the first thing out of college, the traditional route in my life. And it just so happened that I had this opportunity through an independent label, University Music Entertainment based in Washington, D.C., to give it a go. And I'm trying things out. They're trying things out. And it just so happened to work. I think to a limited capacity. We were figuring it out in a place that hadn't yet figured it out.
right,
So it's all a blessing, and we made it work the way it worked. But when I said earlier that I feel like I've just really come into my own, I'm speaking of my womanhood, what I have to offer from a life standpoint, from a wisdom standpoint, and bringing it to my songwriting, bringing it to production, bringing it to serve.
Yeah.
You know, musically, everything's of course evolved from
Sure.
performance and the way that I carry my art and perfect the craft in the studio and what I have to offer. I was very, very young and inexperienced when I came out as a young girl, so I'm very much looking forward to the next phase.
Yeah.
So excited.
yeah,
And when you have an opportunity and it knocks at your door, you go for it.
absolutely.
So I can't say if it would have worked any better, if I'd waited, if I'd gone with another company, etc. But I embrace it all, and I'm very grateful because it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you evolve
Yeah.
and get better and change.
So since you've gone independent, like how important? I mean, it's been since 2007 to have a team around you to help you do it. Because I know, you know, it's not as easy when you're independent. So if you have support, obviously you need that support. So can you talk about how important that is?
I think it's very important to have a team, and until you can find it, you have to be that team.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to step out of being an artist just to make your art happen?
That's
is the
right.
question, because I've had to.
You gotta step into business
I
mode.
have been so many people at one time, and it is not fun, but it is necessary until you can find people to help you, to assist you, that believe in you. You no longer have that budget that people expect of you because
right.
you have a major related name. And so things are looking a little different.
That's right.
But you find a way when you are very passionate about something.
That's
and
right.
I found a way. 9 independent projects in, with 10th, 11th, and 12th on the way.
That's fantastic.
2 already done. But
Nice.
I love what I do. And I think and I hope that it resonates with the fans, even though they don't know.
Yeah.
All of the behind the scenes stuff and the many different roles that are necessary and the many different team members that it takes to make just one thing work, much less a career or a project and all aspects of that. But I'm looking forward to the next phase.
Do you often, I mean, and this is really, I guess, for the audience who wants to know, do you often think about, how things was back, in your younger days, like at the very beginning, how how that whirlwind happened? I mean, I'm calling it a whirlwind because when you came out, your first probably 4 or 5 years, you were all over, you were everywhere. Like it was, your music was everywhere. And I'm referring to that as a whirlwind because I can only imagine tours, you're in the studio, all the back and forth, you're working with all these different artists. Like, do you ever think back on those experiences and like have any regrets about some of that time or anything, in terms of how things were handled with your career? Or
I don't really have any regrets. Excuse me. I don't have any regrets. I'm here. I'm breathing. I'm alive. That's all I can be grateful for. Every waking day, I have another chance to make life better for myself and others. So I just start from there. Everything can look different, for the better or the worse. But I think things go so fast, it becomes a blur. You're not paying attention to what the public may be receiving because you're on the other end and next and next and next, and you're constantly on the go because you are in demand at the time that you're already looking forward to the next 2 years or 5 years and working toward that. So I think when you're very, very focused, very driven, but also the expectation of what it is for you to deliver is the focal point. Your perspective is different than onlookers.
Of course.
Yeah. You're just in the midst of the storm that other people can view.
No, I get it. So in terms of, I guess this is a two-part question. Can you talk about some of the most humbling experiences throughout your career? And then on the other end, talk about what you're most proud of.
Humbling experiences. Well, watching Prince perform live is definitely humbling.
Come on. 100%.
Moments that take my breath away. Sitting down on a couch with Stevie Wonder.
Come on.
Michael Jackson. Calling the studio.
You got to tell a story. You can't just
Well,
touch
he
on
had a charitable song after the 50th anniversary concert in Madison Square Garden. And there were 2 nights of that. September 11th happened, and he composed a charity song that many of the same artists that were on that show came to New York to record. And on my birthday, 10/10, that year, I went into the studio to do this for Michael Jackson because that's what I was going to do.
Of course.
I was a big fan.
Yeah.
And let's take it back even further. My uncle, hey Craig, gifted my brother and his son, my cousin, with Michael Jackson tickets. I was about 10 years old. I did not get an invite. And I said, you know what? I am so hurt. But I ended up on the stage one day with Michael.
Nice.
So I would jump on my birthday for Michael. He called the studio and sang me happy birthday.
Are you serious?
That day.
Wow.
Those are the moments that remind me whenever I'm maybe feeding into negativity or negative narratives about myself that these icons that have seen so much, that have paved the way, that you got to shake hands with, that are no longer here with us, dig from whatever place that is within you that got you there when you're second-guessing yourself. Remember who you are. Remember what got you there, so that's internal. And I have those people to thank and also hold on to, because never in a million years, when you're in your living room,
of course,
watching the tube, do you think or fathom that that is a reality for you. And it was for me. And then also empowering conversations with these legends,
these giants,
full of wisdom and what they've seen, of course, in another era, and what they've had to fight for. I take those, I don't take it lightly. Life-altering conversations.
No, for sure.
So I'm grateful for those moments and the gems.
That's awesome. That leads me to I know, I think when, if you can confirm this, you had, I guess Prince took you under his wing.
Well, I think Prince was a very, very caring man that wanted to lay down some groundwork based on what he's been through in this industry for the next generation. And anyone that he saw maybe a part of himself in, he thought it was time to just drop some things, if in his presence, or send invites. And if he believed in you, he wanted you to protect your art.
Yeah.
And I think he saw himself in a lot of us. And it's just not me. It's several artists that he's given these empowering conversations with, or to. And we don't take it lightly.
Yeah.
And they stay there with you forever and help guide you on this journey or path of life. And this business is very tricky.
Yeah.
So he was a stickler for that.
Sure.
Not sampling, ownership,
Yeah.
but it's empowerment at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And he cared enough to pull us to the side and say, hey, let me redirect you.
That's fantastic. Gone too soon, period. I got an opportunity to see him live during the musicology tour, and it was unbelievably the best show, still to this day, that I've ever seen. And I'm a musician's musician, so like I appreciate all the little nuances, from a musician standpoint. And of course, he had Shaka Khan come out on stage, he had Dougie Fresh come out on stage, and it was this crazy 3.5 hour, maybe even 4 hour concert in New Orleans at the Essence Festival. So big shout out to the God Prince, fantastic artist, and just contributor across the board. So can you talk about some of the things that you're most proud of that you've accomplished?
Staying sane. That's number one.
Yeah.
Staying sane, holding on to myself, helping others along the way, casting people from my hometown to be a part of the team.
Yeah.
Training fans to become assistants or logistical assistants and road managers, offering purpose to those that might be lost. Sometimes it's outside of music, but it can be a tool that empowers you to empower others. So those are the things that I'm proud of, being able to, or being in a position to help others financially when possible. That's been a game changer generationally for my family.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed to see part of the world, to change my perspective, but also, if I have kids one day, to have a different outlook on life and be well-versed or well-cultured.
Yeah.
And know that just the common denominator amongst humans is the life experience, regardless of where we are from. And to tap into that.
Yeah.
Music also being a universal language, but it is beautiful out there. So all of these experiences cultivated into one life, they gather me up real quick when I'm having a bad moment or a bad day. And once again, I love where I am right now, so I wouldn't take away anything or change anything, because it's definitely I think contributed to who I love today.
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you still love it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, I love it. I'm in the studio smiling.
Nice.
I'm in rehearsals glowing.
Yeah.
Just to be around musicians.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Pure.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
The way that I feel around music, creating music, and then also with like-minded people or people that are built like us, is something that runs through the veins.
Yeah.
And because I started out so young, to see the evolution, to evolve in so many different ways and exercise that, and then see the product of that, it's light years ahead of where I started.
Yeah.
And to be so excited about sharing that phase
Yeah.
and that chapter with life experience and wisdom, that's what I'm looking forward to. It's a game changer for me.
That's why we're celebrating you.
Well,
That's why.
I don't really celebrate the younger me. It's a little cringy.
Is it?
You know,
Is it?
you know,
Yeah.
looking back.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm like, oh, I was so young. Oh my gosh, why did I say that in the interview? Oh my gosh. Oh no. So I'm very critical of my younger self because I know the evolution now. But that is what I'm looking forward to sharing so many components of myself for the purpose of serving like I've never served before. And it's on a different level, as it should be. And I'm in love with music. I don't think that will ever change, business or no business. And that is actually what I'm most proud about because nothing has ever tainted that.
Yeah. Do you have, or I guess, artists from, you know, the generation behind you reaching out to you for advice, for guidance in some ways that, you know, some of the girls that came out, or I'm saying girls, any guys as well, that's come out in the mid 2000s or even more recently, some of the newer artists. I look at artists like her and SZA and, you know, Ari Lennox. There's so many of these the new generation R&B pop artists. Have you had any of some of these new artists reach out to you for any guidance or?
I've had some folks ask me about some contracts and advice.
Yeah.
But also thanks regarding some interviews that became viral and my response to those things, mostly women in the business. I'll never mention any names.
Disclose, yeah.
But yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Never do you think you'll be in a position to offer any advice, but you become that at some point. I think everyone does. But much more to learn. Yes, I don't know everything.
Right. It's like you're paying it forward, you know.
Absolutely.
I know there's a lot of artists. I've been making music for over 20 years, and really longer than that. I put a number on it, but for where I'm from, as an independent artist, people reach out to me all the time, even still now, like young artists. Hey, how do I put a tour on? How do I, you know, do this from an independent standpoint? So I had to have my business chops together. So I come from a time, again, selling out the trunk. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I live in New Orleans, and we literally would have CDs. We would come out with an album, whatever. We got 1,000 CDs. We sell out of those. We order another 5,000. We sell out of those. Order another 10,000. And obviously, we were making a lot of money hand to hand. We were touring. We owned everything that we were doing. Fast forward when the game changed. You know, this is around 07, 08 when, you know, now independent artists can now be on iTunes. You know what I'm saying? I remember being excited because even then, we're getting it 99 cents for at least a song, or $9.99, and we're getting 75-80% of that. And now you can't even buy. Well, I guess you technically still can buy the albums digitally, but most people don't know how to. They just go Apple Music. They just stream the music. How has that affected you in terms of how the business has changed in that regard to where, obviously on shows you're still printing, but you have a lot of fans that stream your music. I saw on your Instagram page you had 2-point-something million streams from Spotify. Like, how does that benefit you in any way, or is that something that you're like, you know what I mean, you're I guess I'm fumbling here, but your fans are actually having an experience with the music, but you're not necessarily benefiting from that from a business standpoint. Like, do you have any thoughts on that? Any expressions on that?
I'm more of a touring artist, and that's where I win. Yeah. You know, I don't really pay attention to streaming numbers. You know, team members do all that for me.
Sure.
I don't even want to pay attention. It's great to know, but that's usually not my focal point until it comes time to pay royalties or mechanicals, etc., as an independent label. And that takes a while when you're talking about streaming numbers. But for me, my focal point is to be the best artist and hopefully get to the art while I'm hustling out here to finance the art, because that also costs, and all of the things that surround putting it out is a whole different beast. That is very expensive if you want anybody to know about it.
That's right.
And so there have been different phases in my independent journey. First, it's the process of making, and then getting the product ready to dish out. But then what? Oh, that's where I'm just now getting into investing in, because before it was just like, oh, hey fans, here's this dropping on this anniversary.
Yeah.
Enjoy, and making music with urgency, or actually wanting to get it out with urgency. Because, oh, tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah.
This is my legacy. I just want to get it out. But now it's more strategic moving forward in this next chapter, because what I'm sitting on deserves that.
Sure.
So I don't really pay attention so much to streaming.
The numbers and everything.
No, probably like I should. But my focus is on the art, and then maybe hiring someone
Sure.
that shows me, okay, this is what this can do. This algorithm here is a foreign language to me, but it's also very important to know,
Yeah.
you know, if you plan on being official with it, and then taking that into consideration and applying all the forces that are necessary to make something go. So I know that I'm going to have to get there, you
Yeah.
know, outside of just touring and other things going on, but I haven't paid attention to it enough.
I got you. I mean, I find it to be important. It's definitely an important thing, but again, you're already a legendary artist. Like, whether I'm saying legendary because you are. There's so many people. I told a few people, I said, man, I got Maya gonna be on the show. I'm so excited. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, she's so amazing. You know, so obviously you're touring all over the country. You know, in terms of that, are you seeing like this energy from your fans? Like, I mean, you're touring. Are you on do you have a specific tour going on right now? Or are you just doing spot dates?
My life is a tour.
Yeah.
I don't stop. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Go get it. This is what you're going to invest in. It's necessary, but I also love to perform. So it's
Yeah.
very addictive, and it's hard for me to sit down.
Gotcha.
And then there's also employees and independent contractors. I'm like, they got to work. You don't want them suffering, you know.
Yeah.
So it's about engaging your team as well, even when it's time for you to take a break. You're like,
Sure.
well, it's hard to turn down checks.
Come on.
Because it's there,
Yeah.
and if it's there, it's a blessing, but it's also very important to learn how to sit and stop, and that's something that I'm working on as well.
Yeah. I got you. Well, you have to
There's
take
a
your time.
time.
Yeah, take your time.
For art to be made and self-assessment. So I'm learning how to sit down slowly but surely, and then also self-care is
Yeah.
a big component that I'm big on, but I also need to be about my word and practice what I preach as well.
right.
So it can be very addictive being on the go, and all the opportunities, if they come, you know, the narrative is, oh, if it's there, you better take it because you don't know. It will always be there for you. What's meant for you is always going to be there.
Gotcha.
And even more so when you stop and
Yeah.
invest in yourself, in the art. Don't be afraid of sitting down, and I have to constantly remind myself when to do it, and my body will tell me if I don't tell me.
That's right. So I'm going to ask you a question. We'll switch gears a little bit. So you have a single called Wine. First of all, what's your connection to the islands?
Well, in the year 2000, I recorded a song called Girls Them Sugar.
Yes.
Beanie Man.
Yes.
And featuring Maya. But that was a trade song for the song that he was featured on my album, Fear of Flying, which was my sophomore album. And it was called Lie Detector, produced by Wyclef Jean.
Yeah.
And it became this huge record in the Caribbean that I was adopted as an honorary Jamaican.
Gotcha.
Somewhere on Wikipedia it says that Maya's father is Jamaican.
Are you serious?
He was never aware, but I mean,
Wagwan.
I'll take it. I'm there all the time anyways. Might as well be. But that's my initial connection to island music. And I have about 16 or 17 collaborations in the Caribbean. Yeah.
So that's where I didn't hear that specific rumor in terms about your father being Caribbean, but
Don't know who wrote it, but
I assumed it. I'm like,
Might
she
as
must
well
have
be.
some what connection? I just wanted to ask that question. What
Yeah.
connection? So in terms of that, like you're talking about, which now you got me excited because I've been listening to, knowing that we had you come on the show, I've been listening to like a lot of your more recent music. You've been dropping albums like for the last so many years, incredible music. What can we expect from you coming in the future?
I always like to say expect nothing, but receive everything.
Come on.
So when it's ready, it's ready. It is ready. But
Yeah.
there are so many other components that go into releasing music. I have to practice patience.
Of course.
I'm sitting, twiddling my thumbs, waiting, getting all of those components ready so that you all receive it differently than my previous independent projects in a more major way, even though I'm independent.
Sure.
So learning how to do that is where I am right now. And it takes even more investment.
Of course.
So I've been grinding.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Any cool
because,
collaborations that you could talk about?
Absolutely, but I can't talk about
Well,
it.
you got to drop
No,
something.
I'm not doing that because guess what? We live in the age of connectivity, and they'll be bugging me.
That's true. That's true. Well, that's the benefit of also being independent because you can control, like, hey, look, this is going to drop whenever you want
That's
it to
true.
drop,
24 hours.
Yeah.
No notice.
That's a really cool feature. That's a cool thing. So what are you listening to right now? Like outside of your own music that you've been working on, like, are you inspired by any new artists or any artists that's out right now?
Well, I listen to so much music. I have playlists,
Yeah.
I have my my cooking playlist, and
Okay.
that's a lot of neo soul.
So you cook?
Oh yeah, I do my whole vegan chef thing.
Okay.
I have my cleaning playlist.
Yeah.
I have my 70s funk playlist. Like I said, I mentioned a couple of names, but the Cool in the Gangs, the
Gang.
Rick James,
Yeah, come on.
the Prince. I mean, the list goes on and on. Evelyn Champagne King.
Come on.
It just goes on and on. I love reggae. I love calypso. I love dancehall. I love soca. Anything that is very festive,
Sure.
and that is usually in equatorial places, the Caribbean, the diaspora, Africa,
Yeah.
on my piano. I mean, it can be anything for me. I love country music, but that's also soul and gospel. So I have my gospel, my country playlist. Independent artists, Cleo. Oh my goodness,
Cleo's amazing.
amazing performer.
I haven't seen her perform yet, but she's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many. Kelly Uchis, she's on the playlist. Janae Aiko. I mean, I could be here forever listing artists.
Yeah. And some of these girls, I mean, like they come from your tree in a sense.
No, I never take credit for that, but
You ain't have to. We'll give it to you.
I never do. But artists are just a plethora of so many different influences, and I enjoy all of it. There's not really one genre that I don't like, even classical, being, in the orchestra. I listen to classical jazz, poetry, whatever it is. There's something that is there that I resonate with.
You mentioned you do your vegan chef thing. Like, what got you into being a vegan?
The short version of this. Well, when I became an independent artist, I put myself through these challenges that would instill discipline. I started training heavily, boxing, anything individual, to make sure that I could fall on myself, because there's a lot that's stripped away from you that you can no longer rely on when you step into the independent space. So I had to condition myself. And every year it was this extreme challenge. And so I saw the wonders of what that was, whether it was, okay, no alcohol in all of the environments that I'm in that have it there for you for free, or celibacy, and being very, very disciplined in every area, running a marathon for 26.2 miles when the doctor said no, did it anyway, to make sure that I have my mental right. And there's something spiritual in that as well, to hold you over so that you can push through in your darkest hour.
For sure.
Because it gets dark too.
Yeah, for sure.
So that led me to veganism. I'd been doing these food challenges as well, and master cleanses. I'd been vegetarian, got into a very, very toxic relationship, and I began changing. And I had to leave that, exit, and get myself back, but not just return to who I was before I entered that, but go further. And so I chose veganism, and it opened up a whole world that changed my life, spiritually, physically, mentally, creatively, and it's just a lifetime. Well, it's a lifestyle for a lifetime.
How long has this process been going on? Is it, veganism I'm referring to?
9 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you true to this.
True to this.
Yeah. You ain't
Even
new,
though
you're not new to
I
this.
was new to this.
Yeah, of course. You have
It's
to go
not
through
how
that.
I was raised.
Yeah.
But it has definitely done wonders for my life and my outlook on life
What'd you eat
itself.
for Thanksgiving?
I was on a plane for Thanksgiving. I mean, you know.
I always tease. I have a few vegan friends and vegetarians, and I try to be. I'm on front neck like I still eat flesh in that regard. I still like a nice steak, but I do appreciate. I do my best to try to eat clean and keep my body in shape and doing the right thing. So. I'm always interested in saying, like, when you're a vegan, like, what's that diet look like? Like
everything that what you're already accustomed to, you can actually have the vegan version of. It's just all about the substitutes and the texture, getting the texture right. Because honestly, we love seasoning. Those are plants. Those are herbs. Those are roots that come from the ground that make everything taste amazing. The vegetables, etc. So. You can make mock turkey. You can make your gravy without the animal stock. You can have your eggs with a substitute like chickpea juice or applesauce, like dairy. You can do a nut milk like cashew milk or coconut milk. So it's all there. Then you now have vegan cheeses. Then there's the processed side of veganism, which is not so healthy if you eat it every day.
That's right.
Because vegan does not equate to healthy.
That's right.
But you make healthy choices within that lifestyle.
Yeah, it's like going to Chipotle and saying you want the what do they call it, the impossible something. It's
That
impossible.
tortilla will kill you.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy.
I got you. So, okay, so in terms of just switching back to the music, so when can we expect a new project? Like you have 2 projects you're talking
I
about
have
that's
a lot
ready
of
to go.
projects.
Well, I'm saying the ones that's ready. The other ones you're working on, the ones that's ready. Like when can we
I
expect?
can't tell you when you can expect them. One is mixed, mastered, ready to go.
So we can't.
But
say,
I know visuals are important.
Sure.
Lining up the tour is important.
That's right.
The promotional tour is important.
Yeah.
The publicity, the social, digital aspect of things. So, I mean, they're sitting dormant. But there are a lot of components that go into releasing music the proper way, which I actually have never done independently. So now that I'm sitting on something just so beautiful and amazing that I need masses to hear and receive, I have to do it a different way if I want a different result. So I know that fans are expecting something more major from my end. And there are other ways to do business, so I'm having other conversations now.
It sounds like, I mean, it looks like, just looking at you how you're talking about it, you seem like this is like some of the most fulfilling music that you've made.
It is. I've cried. I've laughed. I've poured out a part of me that probably has never been received before. So I'm looking forward to that. But I can't tell you when to expect it.
Come on.
I'm working on the other
Come
components
on, your fans are salivating
for you
over
to
here.
receive.
Yeah. Got you. So we don't know when it's coming. We're hoping 2024. I'm probably gonna have to have a little side conversation with your manager. Maybe she'll tell me something in that regard. So we really being that this is your 25th year, and I'm saying that, and it seems like you have when I say 25th,
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Like as a fan of music, who has been, I've strived to make it in the music business. Didn't really pan out for me in the ways that I wanted it to. I definitely had some nominal success that I'm very proud of. But when I look at that, and I look at someone like you who's gone through all these phases of music throughout the years, and you've accomplished so much. You've the highest with the winning a Grammy. We look at the Grammy as the best thing, but as an artist who's done that, who has independently, done really well in terms of putting out as much music as you have, and stayed relevant. Like people still are saying your name. People still are excited to hear when you are doing a show. I had a conversation with a friend of mine maybe a few months ago, and he's like, "Man, Maya popped in on our show. It's a party called If It Ain't 90s R&B. If it don't feel like 90s R&B, you remember that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That was recent. Huh?
Yeah, shout out to Keith Jacobs. Yeah, that's my bro. And I mentioned to him, I said, man, Maya, I may have Maya on the show. He's like, oh my God, no, she came to one of the shows. So, so you have people who really, they're craving for more Maya. How does it make you feel?
I don't hear it enough, so it's great to hear.
Yeah.
And you get stuck in your own bubble of thoughts sometimes.
So you gotta open it up.
So it's wonderful to hear that people are still checking and are looking forward to more.
For sure.
But I have to say the best is yet to come.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
we're
looking forward to it. We're looking forward to it. Maya, it's been an absolute pleasure. An absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for
having me.
having
Look, guys, this
me.
is a continued conversation. So we had the wonderful, legendary, beautiful Maya come on the show. Come on. Can we talk R&B? Bless you guys.
Can we talk? Oh, can we talk? Can we talk R&B?
If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, go to our Patreon for bonus content.